So before I talk about The Promised Neverland, I just want to say, I love you guys. Thank you so much for always being there. Thank you so much for always just being that support and that pillar of light for me every single day. I just don't think I say that often enough, and I just want to say thank you so much. And so with that being said, let us begin talking about this chapter of The Promised Neverland. So, let's talk about that golden water, okay? Or, you can't even really consider it water, because apparently Emma and Lucas weren't actually really getting wet from the water. So, that is a very curious substance. I'm very curious on what it actually is. So let's talk about that. Number one, this chapter raises a lot of questions, because it seems like the writer now is starting to introduce elements that seem more on the lines of either magic or maybe very highly advanced technology, because there has been a big question many of us had for a long time now, ever since we found out about the pins, so the holograms on the pin. That's some really good technology, just having like a hologram on a pin, and, you know, it accesses different doors and stuff. It's pretty high tech in a way, and when you look at it, you're like, okay, obviously, most likely the human civilization is a little bit advanced. It's very advanced compared to our civilization. And so when you see this chapter, raises questions. Is it magic or is it science? Because when you have this golden lake and Emma and Lucas are trying to walk through it, apparently they weren't getting soaked or wet at all when they were walking through it, which is a very strange thing, because that means they were not having any of their clothes getting drenched or anything. They were just walking through it like it was fine. It wasn't hurting them, it wasn't doing anything wrong to them or anything to their bodies. It just, they were walking through it and it wasn't affecting them at all, which was very weird. However, rocks and stuff, that little mini island in the middle of the Goldie Pond, it was floating, which is very strange. Very, very strange. Because from what we know about how the world works, I don't think there's actually something like that. I mean, a gas, maybe, certain type of gases could possibly do something like that, depending on the buoyancy, but I just don't think something like that, like the, you know, the little mini island with the elevator and all that would be floating like that. So it's very weird seeing something like that in this chapter, and it just makes you question, is it magic or is it science? Now, there is something I do want to point out now. Besides whatever the pond may be, which I'm going to call it right now, that pond most likely is some form of chemical that works against the demons. Because, think about it like this. This is, you know, William Minerva's, like, shelter thing. We don't know exactly, you know, what William Minerva really does want. He might have a different endgame compared to what we know of. But for now, though, that chemical around the little mini island with the elevator, most likely, that can keep demons out. For instance, if demons, let's say, somehow found this shelter, and they went down in there, and then, you know, they saw this, they probably couldn't walk through it, or maybe it's like some form of natural barrier. Maybe it's a chemical they don't like. Maybe, you know, if they're anywhere near it, it will kill them, or whatever. They just don't like the smell, or I don't know. It doesn't seem like it has a smell or anything, because Emma and them would be talking about it. I'm just saying maybe it's something to ward off demons. And that's what I think it is. I honestly think it has something to do with warding off demons. It won't do anything to regular humans, but when it comes to demons, though, it will harm them. So that is a very interesting thing we need to take note of. Anyways, let's talk about the elevator. The elevator is on this little mini island, and if you pay close attention and all that, at first it looks like it's a reflection, like an illusion, because of the way the water looks. It looks like maybe the island is floating, like it's a little piece of land floating with an elevator on it, but in reality, as they continue to move through the, you know, yellow liquid, they actually discover that it is actually floating because of the way the liquid is working. So it's not an illusion. So the elevator, that's the strange part about it. The elevator, which we know it's an elevator because of the design of it and the way it looked and all that and the way they were trying to operate it, if you look closely at the image of it, there is no machine above it. Like, there's no place to go above it. And if it is really a floating island, there's no place to go down. It's not connected to anything. The elevator will not go anywhere. So that's the strange part. The elevator cannot possibly go down, or it cannot possibly go up, unless magic. That's what I'm assuming, or a very advanced technology, which could possibly be a teleporter. Think about it like that. Maybe that elevator is a teleporter. Possibility, when you think about it, because if it has no bottom where it's going to go, and it has no top, then it can only be a teleporter, unless it's going to be magic and it's going to start, like, floating or something. Or maybe the entirety of the room of Goldie Pond starts flooding over with that, you know, yellow liquid, and then eventually it breaks out or something. Maybe something like that. Maybe it'll float to the top. Whatever it may be, there is definitely something strange going on with the tech in this chapter, and it really makes you wonder what direction the writer is going to take this series, because we still have yet to know. I mean, we don't know what direction the writer wants to take, which is why I really love The Promised Neverland, because it's just so mysterious. You're like, whoa, what's going to happen next? You know, what's the world like? You know, how's, you know, the human civilization? How's the modern-day demon civilization? We do know that there's multiple different factions and stuff. There's, you know, companies and stuff. So we know for a fact that there's divide between them. They have different viewpoints. They're biased or whatever. They all have their own things that they want, and so there's just so many things that are building up and so mysterious. You want to know, like, okay, so is it like a magic society? Is it a science society? And, you know, also, how is the world separated? I mean, how's the demon and human world separated? I mean, is it magic? Is it science? Is it like an alternate dimension in some way? I mean, there's just so many questions, and so, yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that this chapter definitely raised a lot of questions. Anyways, let's talk about that phone call. So the phone call. Who could it be? Well, the obvious guess, many would say it's probably William Minerva. But there is another possibility. There's a possibility that that could be a recorded message. Think about it like that. You know how when you try to call a company, or you call on someone on the phone, or, you know, you get their mailbox, like their voicemail or whatever, that could possibly be a recorded message. If someone tries to activate the elevator, the message will start to play for them. Maybe the elevator was never meant to move in the first place, or maybe the elevator can't move because there is demons in the vicinity. Think about it like that. What if it has like an AoE type sensory effect or whatever, and once the demons are all gone in a certain radius, then it could start moving or activate or do whatever it wants. That could be a possibility. So, I believe that that phone call is probably, you know, a regular recorded message, probably going to tell them what they need to do to be able to access the elevator, or teleport, or whatever it may be. Because let's look at the monitoring room, you know, getting to view the hunting grounds, you know, the mayor, Bear, or whatever his name is, I forget exactly his name, but basically, we get to see this surveillance room looking at the entire hunting ground, which is also very strange. It seems like for something like that to be in place, it seems like the time of when this shelter was made, it was made around the time of when that hunting ground was made, which I did talk about this in my last chapter review. I said that there is a likely possibility that William Minerva could be a demon, maybe a good demon. We know for a fact there's probably not going to be all bad demons out there. There's probably going to be some good ones out there that, you know, want to not hunt humans and don't want them to thrive and hunt humans. There could be demons like that that just want to be friends with them. And because of the way this is going, it looks like William Minerva might be some form of architect. He might have designed the hunting ground. He might have designed everything all at once. Like, he built the mansion and all that ground, and then he also built the shelter secretly underneath, because for there to be a monitoring system watching the hunting ground, it just doesn't add up. For instance, if William Minerva was to come in and then build on top of, you know, this land and all that, like, you know, just build a secret base, you know for a fact that'd be noticed. That doesn't just happen in a day's time. You don't build a base like that. It just doesn't happen. So, most likely, William Minerva could be a very big public figure in the demon world. And he might know the person that controls the place, and maybe nobody really knows his true intentions. Or it's an elaborate game, and maybe all of this is just for William Minerva to get the, you know, greatest minds and then eventually devour them, because he could possibly be a demon. Who knows? Maybe this is a big bird cage, and eventually they're going to be captured once they finally get far enough. That could be a big thing here. I mean, I do like how that was addressed, actually. Let's talk about that. I like how that was addressed in this chapter, because it's been a big ongoing thing in the community of The Promised Neverland for a while now. It's not just something I have said, or you guys have said in the comments, or even on social media to me. It's been a big thing in the Promised Neverland community. Many have said, what if William Minerva isn't really a human? What if he's not really in the human world? What if he is a demon that has been slowly building up and orchestrating this entire, like, big event to where only the smartest of the smart can escape and follow through these different trials and error, and once they finally make it through, they'll be the tastiest human brain that, you know, a demon would want. And that could be what's going on here. Maybe William Minerva is putting him on a wild goose chase where he can have a very delicious brain once everything is said and done, which is a very scary thought, and it's been in everybody's thoughts for a while now, and I do like how the author addressed that. I don't know if the author was already aware of this when he first started it, or if he found out because of, the comments of people talking about a series. I have no idea, but I do appreciate the fact that the writer is aware of that element of the possibility of William Minerva not being who he really is, and being actually a bad guy. Now, besides that, though, it might be that the hunting grounds, like what was going on here in this entire arc, it could have possibly been another test. William Minerva might have been putting him through a test to see if they really have the determination to do whatever needs to come next. Most likely. So, that could be it. And maybe only the strong will survive, and then when they finally make it to that shelter, then they can figure out what they want to do, maybe a counterattack or something. But for now, though, it does seem like there is a lot of good progress going on. There's a lot of mysteries, and with the surveillance room being introduced, most likely that's going to be used to be able to take down the demons in, Goldie Pond. That's what I most likely see happening. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's chapter of The Promised Neverland. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below, and I love you guys. Hopefully all of you have a wonderful day, or night, wherever you live. Please be safe, stay healthy, stay warm. Chibi out.